Hello, my name is Catherine Gillette, and I am an organizer with Network Lobby for Catholic Social Justice in Washington, D.C. I am absolutely thrilled to be here with you all today in Cincinnati at Working in Neighborhoods as part of our Pope Francis Voter Tour. We have been traveling across the country for the last couple of weeks. Started out in Springfield, Illinois, and since then we have been in Michigan, we have been in Ohio, we are heading to Pennsylvania, traveling all over the place, doing town halls with our members and supporters. And actually we have a town hall coming up tomorrow night if anyone wants to join us in Cincinnati. We have been doing visits to colleges and universities to meet with the students, to do trainings, to do tabling, and we have been doing site visits. And the site visits are an opportunity to meet with local nonprofits and learn about both the challenges of the local community, but also the creative solutions and how different nonprofits are serving their communities. And so again, we are super excited to be here today with WIN, Working in Neighborhoods in Cincinnati, and we've got a great lineup of speakers who are going to share a little bit about the work taking place here. So I'm thrilled to start us off by introducing Sister Barbara Bush, who is the Executive Director, who's going to share a little bit about the organization and the great work they do in Cincinnati. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. So, what we love about being in this community is the quality of life for the people who live here, their care, their interests, how they take care of each other. And I've learned in my years here a lot about how to be a good neighbor. And that's one of the things that we work on all the time is how do we build community in our communities so that people can live successfully, have a decent house, a decent neighborhood. And we work very hard at trying to make sure that people understand that you don't have to own a Taj Mahal to own an important place to live. A house is your health, it is your stability, it increases, and these are interesting. The Ohio State University did a study, and if you own your own home or you have lived consistently in the same place, your children's education are 2 years ahead in reading, 2 years ahead in science, and 2 years ahead in math. So housing and neighborhood stability has been a part of the work of Working in Neighborhoods since its beginning. We have done a number of things, and I'm going to let Sandra, when she comes up, talk a little bit about some of the programming that we've done in the neighborhood. But we do also build, rehab, and sell first-time home buyers. So one of the things that we try to do really hard is make sure that our neighbors have learned what it takes to become a homeowner also. So we are doing that, and we provide financial education. We help families to do better. And one of the fun things for me is listening to folks who have bought a house from us. And sometimes they see the houses we have before they look very good. And I've often said to them when we're signing at the closing table, what is it that made you say yes, you wanted to buy this house? And what they say to us, to a person, is no one else wanted us to buy a house. No one else cared enough to help us learn how to do that and to spend the time and the energy and the effort. And so we decided no matter what you showed us, whether it looked like a barn or it looked like a house, we were going to stick with you because we knew you wanted us and that you would help us become a homeowner and that the quality of that house would be beautiful. And that's been our experience. We've always said we do not do a house we wouldn't want to live in ourselves. And we are very strong on that. I've been told over the years, maybe you could do it with a little less money or a little less this, but we don't want to do that because we believe our neighbors deserve the same quality as anyone else. And the other piece is that we also believe our neighborhoods ought to move out of poverty. We believe there should be an investment in our neighborhoods. We believe that the bank should invest in us. They shouldn't say, no, it's a bad neighborhood, so we aren't going to give you a loan. They shouldn't say, oh my gosh, you lost your job and now you shouldn't be able to keep your house. There are many, many stories we've all heard over our lifetime. One of the fun programs we're doing this year that's new is, and I know this is a problem across the country, there are out-of-town investors buying up single-family housing stock in low to moderate income neighborhoods. Now you say, well, why is that such a problem? Well, what essentially that does is it drives the inability of families who are low mod income to actually purchase a home. And that means that for most African American communities and families, they will never be able to own a home, the American dream, to create wealth. So the two things we try to do is build up that neighborhood so that the families who own a home have wealth to share. And the second piece we do is we try to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to be a part of our regular system. So we always do a bank. You have to have a bank loan if you buy a house from us. We work very hard on that. And we work very hard and we advocate with all kinds of banks. And we bring our neighbors together to advocate with the banks. And we work together. People who know us say, we know that whenever you are here, you have heard, you've listened to what people in the community want. And you have built your programs off of that. And that, I think, is our hallmark. Our hallmark is that we build community first. We build housing second. We provide opportunities for families across the Hamilton County to actually purchase a home. And then we work very hard to make sure that they can stay in that home. And that if they run into a problem, that they can, and we all know what the pandemic did. And so many of our families have, who owned a home, were behind in mortgages, or they were behind in rent, behind in their utility bills. So we spent a lot of time this year helping those families be able to get back on track and get the government money, which wasn't easy to do. And anybody who's worked on those programs know getting the government money wasn't like just snapping your fingers. All of our neighbors had to do a lot of hard work themselves to make that happen. And so they work with us and we work with them. And what I would say about our community and our neighbors is, remember, we are doing this together. We are building Christian community together. And we have believed that for years. And as I say, I don't care what the name is that you call your God. What I care is that you pay attention to what he wants you to do. So I think, Sandra, if you don't mind, or are you introducing?
Yes. Thank you so much, Sister Barbara. That is just a little taste of what we learned today. It really is an incredible organization doing great work here in Cincinnati. And next, it is my honor to introduce Sandra Davis, who is a local community leader and part of the South Cumminsville Community Council. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Reverend Sandra Davis. That's something that my Wynn family doesn't really know about me. I don't refer to myself in that way when I'm doing things with Wynn. I've only been ordained a couple of years. But I have resided in South Cumminsville for 30 years. I consider myself a legacy homeowner. I came to South Cumminsville originally seeking one of the new homes that Wynn was building at that time. I had an aunt that lived in South Cumminsville. She passed away. My sister and her husband bought her home. Well, a home became available right across the street from them, so I bought that house instead of the Wynn home. But working in neighborhoods has the absolutely fitting title, because with Wynn, you do win. And they provide so much to enhance the quality of people's lives here in South Cumminsville. And that's the reason I joined the community council, because I am interested in quality of life. And that's absolutely what Wynn is interested in, and the South Cumminsville Community Council tries to make that happen. I'm their former treasurer. I don't hold an office now, but that organization is just so important in this community. Recently, we had a couple of projects take place that we are so proud of. Gorilla Glue came into the community community, and they built a marvelous mural for us on the main street through South Cumminsville with welcome to South Cumminsville on it, and it's painted in very vibrant colors, and it's just warm and inviting as people come through our community. They planted trees over at our walking trail, which we're very proud of. We had that built with some funding we received about 2 years ago. But Sister Barbara is just an absolute marvel at engaging with the different banks and funders so that they're able to bring projects here to South Cumminsville that help the community. The first project I participated in was a home loan for $5,000. All we had to pay to help renovate our home was the interest. It was over a 3-year period, and we paid interest only for those 3 years. After the end of the 3rd year, the loan was completely wiped away. We owed zero. The second project, Myra Boggs coordinated that, and it was for seniors only. Seniors are out of the workforce for the most part, and there's less money in the budget for upkeep of the home, renovation, and that type of thing. So this program was a 3-to-1 match. Seniors were to save $500. Then when each senior had saved their $500, they received the match from WIN to go ahead with whatever project they had chosen. There wasn't specific projects you had to do. I put gutters on my house, and there was just a variety of projects you could choose from, but WIN didn't tell you how to spend the money. It just had to be spent on the house, increasing the value of the home. The third project, their newest one, is with Third Federal, and it's an actual loan. The other projects didn't involve really repaying the loan, but this one is a conventional loan. It all has to be repaid plus the interest, but the interest is only 2.99%. Now, who has gotten a loan for 2.99%? That's absolutely unheard of. So with that, I was able to have the exterior of my home painted, and I have some other projects coming up for the winter. But that gives a person an enormous amount of pride when they drive up to their home with a new finish on the front. When I purchased my home, it was $29,000 to purchase it. Now it has quadrupled in value. I don't have children, but I have nieces and nephews, great nieces and nephews, and I have a legacy to leave them. And Sister Barbara has talked about wealth building. I have some wealth. I never knew that until I saw the value of the home. And of course, I don't have a mortgage, so I thought, I actually have some wealth. And that's due to WIN, because they have helped me make my home my own little piece of the planet. And we think of it as our family home because my mother and my brother lived there also until they passed away. And we used to gather on Friday evenings and just come to keep my mother company and just be together as a family on Fridays. The work week was done and we could just breathe. So we kept that up for quite a while after my mother passed away. We called it the Friday evening sitting around. And we would come and just sit around and talk and eat. And the family still thinks of that home as Mama's home. But I've kept it for the family. The young people need to have roots, something that they can go back to. My sisters have, one of my sisters has moved. She lived in Northside, but she's moved from there. They can afford to live in a better neighborhood, and they keep saying, well, why don't you move? No, this is my home. This is where I'll be until I can't take care of myself. I love South Cumminsville, and it's for the reasons that Sister Barbara said. The people are neighborly. They are a family. You know each other, and you can go to people you know for some help. I'm real independent. I'm not likely to ask for help. I'm trying to help other people, but you can get that in this neighborhood if you need it. And people talk about the violence. What is bothering me? I'm completely safe in my home. And for all those reasons and more, I really like being in South Cumminsville, and I appreciate the people at WIN so much because they advocate for the community to get people what they should have. There have been people who've been they call our community an underserved community, but we don't feel underserved because we have WIN working on our behalf. So strenuous.
You too.
Oh, not me at all, but I don't do anything compared to what WIN does, and we just appreciate them so much because people a lot of times have something to say and they want things, but they don't think that they can approach the powers that be to advocate for themselves, and WIN does that and more for us, so I thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. My own little piece of the planet.
Yes.
That sums it up pretty well. I love that. Thank you. All right, next up we have Sister Pat Whitberg, who joined us for our tour today and is going to share a little bit of her learnings. Thank you.
My watch also, I'm sure it's good time. Okay, not only my learnings, but also the reflections on what Sister Barbara and Sandra have already said. Sister Barbara, they both are emphasizing the community aspect of this. Prior to coming here 7 years ago now, I taught urban sociology at Indiana University's branch campus in Indianapolis for 25 years. And I don't know if you know their downtown campus, but it's all new and it's right next to the downtown. Something was there before that campus was built. And after a year or so there, I found out what it was. It was a neighborhood like South Cumminsville. It was African American, small houses, old houses, owner occupied. And the professor whom I replaced, who retired and I replaced him, said that he had once had his students do a study of that community before it was torn down. And they knocked on the door of one little old lady. She comes to the door, and this is a bunch of kids. He asked her, you know, how much did you make? She said, nothing. And the kid said, nothing? First of all, you're old. Don't you get Social Security? You know, I used to get Social Security, but it must have run out or something because I don't get it anymore. This woman got nothing. And so the kid said, well, how do you live? Well, the people in the neighborhood. If this particular family had an extra leg of chicken, they'd send it over. An extra bucket of coal, they'd send it over. That was the neighborhood that IUPUI destroyed. And all I could think of today was, this neighborhood has not been destroyed. Those kinds of people still live there with that kind of community. If you need a leg of chicken, I'm sure somebody will give you one. And it very likely would have been destroyed because Sister Barbara was right. There are these out-of-town investors, and they buy up properties. The particular it went bankrupt, out-of-town investors that the Port Authority here bought, however many houses it was. Those are single-family houses. But there are other out-of-town investors that in the neighborhood that I'm currently in and working in St. Vincent de Paul Society in, buy up apartment buildings. Real great, whether it's, I won't say his name. One of that's from Brooklyn, and they bought up something like 300 dwelling units in East Price Hill alone. The rent goes up, the maintenance goes down. We had people who were paying $500 and the raise was raised in 1 month to $950. Cincinnati has the highest rate of year over year of rental increase in the country. That's not in dollar amounts. I mean, you could raise rent $400 a month extra in Manhattan and they probably wouldn't notice it. But here, Donald Terry, who only was paying $500 a month for his apartment with his wife and his special needs child, and now he has to pay $950. And so he's working 2 jobs. You know, it's that kind of thing. And as Sister Barbara said, what this means is that first time people that want to buy homes, they can't find them. And so they rent them. And they pay, you know, I think the median rent now in Cincinnati is something like $1,400 a month. Our people can't afford $1,000 a month. And so what happens is that they rent to the people who can afford it, and then it ratchets down, and the people at the bottom who can't afford very much at all. So we have, right now in St. Vincent de Paul, we've got a family with 5 children, and they're homeless and they're living in the basement. You know, I mean, I mean, it's a justice issue, what's going on. So, and I don't know that you've got Mr. Barber to say, believe this yet, but I'm thinking, you know, a mile south of here, they fancied up an area that used to have a creek in it, and they covered it, it was summer. And, you know, they fancied it up, and now it has, you know, tennis courts and all sorts of things. And I'm thinking, somebody's looking at that. Somebody wants to buy it. Somebody wants to tear down those last buildings that are down there and make them into, you know, fancy houses and call it Wicker Park or something, and people can come in, you know, and where are those people going to go that are still left there? You know, and then what Sandra was saying about the community that you have and that people will help you. When those people go, it's not only the people that are hurt, it's the community that's hurt. And it's the bonding and the love that's hurt. And I've talked for 5 minutes, I'm supposed to talk. But in any case, that's what I thought of when I was going through the neighborhood today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Pat. Stories are powerful. We have heard a lot of stories here today, so we thank you for your sharing. Our last speaker this afternoon is Sister Eilish McCullough, who is a staff member at Network, who's going to share another reflection about our time together.
Thank you, everyone. As Catherine said, I'm Eilish McCullough, and I'm a Humility of Mary sister from Cleveland, Ohio. So I'm thrilled to be down here with all of you and really learning about the amazing work that you're doing here at Wynn and in these neighborhoods. Our tour is the Pope Francis Voter Tour, where we're talking about being multi-issue voters and what it means to look at all the issues and how they're all interconnected. And in hearing all of you talk both during our tour, before this press conference, and now, is the idea that everything is connected. That when you help one person, when you renovate one house, how it changes the entire neighborhood. And at our town hall, which we'll host tomorrow night, we talk about the right of all people not just to live, but to thrive. And that's really what you're all doing here, allowing people to thrive and to reach their truest potential, and then to turn around and be leaders and to give back to their own communities. And we really see all the ideas of the Pope Francis Voter Tour, of the being a multi-issue voter here, and how they come alive through your community-centered work, through your work addressing systemic housing issues, and advocating alongside community members to call attention to that this is your home, this is your family, your neighborhood, and your, as you said, your own little piece of the planet. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sister Eilish. So, if you are feeling excited about the Pope Francis Voter Tour, and I hope that you are, we ask that you join us. For more information, you can text VOTE, that's V-O-T-E, to 202-347-9797. Again, that is VOTE, to 202-347-9797 for more information about the work that we're doing. You can also sign our Pope Francis Voter Pledge. If you are committing to do the work of being a Pope Francis voter, being a multi-issue voter, engaging in this election, we hope that you will sign our Pope Francis Voter Pledge. And if you are excited about some of the work that Network is doing, I hope that you will check out some of our upcoming events. We have some really exciting events coming up. We have Father O'Brien Massingale and Robert P. Jones returning to us to talk about white supremacy in American Christianity and how it's very problematic. That's going to be a live stream on October 29th. More information is available on our website. Additionally, we have an event coming up called Faith in Reparations, where we're going to have all different national faith leaders joining us to talk about reparations in the United States and what possibilities for that look like with HR 40 and possible executive orders. So that is coming up on November 17th. It's also going to be an online event, so no matter where you are in the country, whether you're sitting with us in Cincinnati or joining us from California, New York, Texas, wherever. We hope you will tune in and join us for those events. And lastly, very excited to be here with you on the Pope Francis Voter Tour. We have lots of fun swag and materials, stickers, flyers, all kinds of stuff. So be sure to stop by the table on your way out or to check out our website to get some of that Pope Francis Voter Tour swag. But before we end, just thank you again so much to Working in Neighborhoods for hosting us and for sharing with us. I know we learned a lot and we are feeling energized and inspired and going to take those stories with us. So thank you, thank you, thank you for your hospitality and for sharing with us.
Thank you for coming.
And thank you all for coming.